When your partner's sex drive doesn't match yours, it can feel incredibly painful. But there's very little information out there about what to actually do when this happens other than break up because you're not compatible. But what if there was a different way to fix this? What if a mismatched libido was more normal in relationships than not? What if there was a way to navigate a libido difference in a relationship without it being the end of the world or the end of the relationship? That's what I'm here to share today. What's up? My name is Hannah, also known as the Libido Fairy, and I've helped over 1,200 women feel more confident, alive, and free and joyful in their relationships and start craving sex again. In today's video, I am going to share some actionable tips for getting out of this libido difference cycle of doom and pain. But first, let's break down what typically happens here, and you can tell me if you relate to this as the low libido partner. So here's how it usually goes. Your partner wants you to initiate more often, but you don't really feel like it. Maybe you're exhausted from work or taking care of the kids all day, and sex just doesn't cross your mind. So you don't initiate. Then your partner feels rejected, disappointed, maybe even a little hurt, and so they ask for more initiation. Now here's where things start to spiral down. That request puts pressure on you. And what does pressure do? It squashes your desire. You feel guilty, you feel overwhelmed, and even less inclined to initiate. Your partner then feels like they're too much because they want sex more, but they're afraid to initiate after so much rejection, and then they start taking it personally. They walk on eggshells, they don't want to pressure you more, and you feel like a failure as a partner because shouldn't desire for sex just come naturally? Why don't you want the person that you love? You wonder, what is wrong with me? Shame on both sides. Them feeling like they're too much and you feeling like you're not enough. So this cycle keeps going until both of you feel disconnected, resentful, and caught in a sexual stalemate. At this point, so many mistakes are made. I have made all of them. And here's the biggest one. Most women, or the lower desire partner, often force themselves to have sex when they don't actually want to. And I get it. You might feel like you have to do it to be a good partner, or because you're afraid that your partner might leave or might cheat on you, so you just end up checking off the sex box to get it over with. But guess what? This only makes things worse and reduces your desire even more. Trust me, I literally was here. And here's a little analogy I like to use that demonstrates one common cause of how this loop begins. So let's say, at the beginning of your relationship, you and your partner have a movie night. That first time they ask, what do you want to watch? And you say, I don't care, whatever. So they pick a basketball movie and you hate basketball, but you go along with it. And you might even pretend to like it, being like, oh yeah, go sports, basketball's great, even though inside you're cringing. Next movie night, your partner says, I know you loved that basketball movie last time, so let's just watch another one. And now you're trapped. You're stuck in this loop where you're pretending to like something that you don't just to avoid disappointing your partner. And what happens over time? You stop wanting to go to movie night because it's not fun for you. You watch basketball every time and you hate it. And you're like, why would I initiate a movie night when I know it's not going to be enjoyable? This is exactly what happens in sex so often. When you just go along with what your partner wants and you don't know what you like, sex becomes a chore. Of course, you're not going to initiate something you don't want to initiate if it's something you're not actually looking forward to. So, how do we break this loop? I'm about to give away all my best secrets, but before I do, if you're relating so hard to this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to get more content on intimacy, sex, and relationships. Okay, now onward to the solutions. If you're the person with a lower libido or less spontaneous desire, the first step is to figure out what kind of sex you actually want. What kind of movie would you love to watch on the movie night? You might need to try different things to figure it out. Maybe you try the basketball movie, aka a certain type of sex, and you're like, that's not for me. But then you try a romantic comedy, maybe more slow, sensual sex, and you think, oh, okay, that was okay. And then maybe you try a cult documentary, which is something more playful or adventurous, and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. I found it. This is it. This is my genre. Okay, so the actionable tip is just start exploring your desires by asking yourself super simple questions. Would I like more foreplay tonight? Do I prefer slower touch or faster? Do I want to try a different position? The more specific you get, the easier it becomes to identify what you like. The goal here is to make sex something that rewards you in some way, because let's be honest, if you're not getting any reward from sex, you're not going to want it. And it's okay if it takes time to figure this out. You're not going to know what you like overnight. Now, the next solution I've got for you is where things can get really hard, especially for my people pleasers. You're going to have to do something that might be really uncomfortable. You might have to say no and admit that you weren't honest about what you liked before. You are going to have to be okay with disappointing your partner occasionally. You can start this small. So the next time you're not feeling something, you can just say, hey, I'm not really into that tonight. But what I would like to do is X. This way you're not just shutting down intimacy, you're redirecting it to something that you actually enjoy. So this is all about building inner security and knowing that your value in the relationship is more than just sex. When you set boundaries and say, no, I don't want that, you're making room for what you do want. This is a game changer because it means when you say yes, it's a real yes. And that builds trust and excitement and connection in your relationship. Now, if you're the higher libido partner and you're watching this video, this tip is for you. A no is not a personal rejection. And when your partner says no to sex or a certain activity, it's not about you. It's about them and what they need to do in the moment. The key here for you is going to build your own self-esteem and sense of internal validation. So reflect on what you're actually looking for in sex. Is it connection? Is it intimacy? Is it stress relief? Is it an orgasm? Once you identify what you're actually seeking, you can find other ways to meet that need in your relationship or even in your relationship with yourself. This can take the pressure off of sex being the only way that you can feel close to your partner. When both partners stop putting so much pressure on sex and start collaborating on creating experiences that feel good for both of them, the cycle starts to break from both sides. Getting out of this doom cycle is all about figuring out what you truly want, being honest, and finding ways to connect that feel good for both partners. And if you're looking for more tips on how to create a sex life that's satisfying for both of you, check out my video, How to Figure Out What You Like in Bed. It's full of tools to help you discover your desires and get closer to the kind of sex life you've been craving. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.